Hi there, and thank you for tuning in to The Social Circus, where every week we dive into a variety of topics covering social media, mindset, and how to run your business. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 52 of The Social Circus. I am your guest, Sarah Thompson, and today I am so excited and thrilled to be joined by the fabulous Ashley from Fusion Biz Co. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on today. I'm such a big fan of what it is that you do. Now, for my listeners that haven't met you, I might get you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Fusion to start with, and then we're going to circle back and talk about why you started your biz.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Ashley Matkovic, and I started Fusion probably about 10 years ago. It wasn't actually called Fusion Biz Co then. It's been through a few different iterations since I started. But basically, Fusion is a business networking community for women in business. But our main point of difference is that it's genuine networking. So it's not to come and make sales. It's to come and talk about what's going on in your life and your business, and for you to be able to find friends and just a real kind of like you know how when you have a baby you go to a mum's group. It's like when you start a business you need to go to this business group so that you have that safe space to be held and supported. So that's what I like to think of Fusion as. And the women that come into the community, like yourself, Sarah, are just the most down-to-earth, genuine, kind-hearted people. And I'm so grateful for everyone that they just carry that on into the events. And it's just like a different kind of feel.
It absolutely is. And I have to say, I was a bit late to the party with Fusion. And I only became a member last year. And I think because I'd done a lot of traditional networking and I'd belonged to the dreaded BNI and a lot of that masculine way of networking, from the outside looking in, I didn't realize that Fusion was such a different kind of networking. And I kind of didn't go along because I was like, I can't do more networking. I'm so jaded. And when I came to the first event, I was like, I think it was one of the best networking events I'd ever been to. It was a beautiful brunch that we had, and I left and my heart was so full because I was like, met all these beautiful women and I actually made genuine connections. I didn't feel like I had to go, hi, this is what I do. You have these beautiful conversation starters, and it was just so gorgeous. And one of the things that touched me, which I know you often talk about, because when people see you and meet you, are this beautiful, successful woman. And it can be really easy to assume that you have got everything lined up, and you tell the story of when you were a child. Would you be open to sharing that today? Because I love it.
Oh, as in like when I went to school?
Yes.
Okay. My story. This is like my story and why I started Fusion. So when Fusion was always very much intuition driven. Like I never really knew why I wanted to put these events on, because I am quite naturally introverted. So like going to these events pushes me way out of my comfort zone. So when I first started running these events, I just moved back from London and I was looking to meet some new people. Anyway, so I was putting these events on, and every single event I would go to, I'd be like, this is my last one. I can't do this anymore. It's too nerve-wracking. Why do I do this? I'd be standing in the toilet. I'd be doing my power pose just to build that confidence. And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. So it was very like soul driven. Anyway, so I was dealing with some recurring issues coming up with like not feeling good enough, not fitting in, blah, blah, blah. So I went to see a hypnotherapist to try and rewrite that story. Anyway, she took me back to a moment in year 2, all the way back to year 2. Now, I didn't remember this, but it was like the vision was me in my year 2 classroom. I had just moved from one side of the country to the other, and I was finding it really difficult to fit in and make new friends in my new school, because I was like, had all these friends in my old school, and just trying to find my place in this new school when everyone had already formed their groups was really hard. Anyway, my mum had had enough of me crying every single day, dropping me off. So it was like 2 weeks in, she was in her dressing gown and her slippers. She got out of the car. She dragged me into the classroom and she said, Ashley, who do you want to be friends with? And I pointed to this little girl, and she dragged me over there and she was like, Elise, will you be friends with Ashley? And to this day, she's still my best friend. Anyway, so like I kind of, found that. But the hypnotherapist took me back to that moment, because that was the first moment where I really didn't feel like I fit in. And then I carried that story within me throughout my whole life from that moment. And so the hypnotherapist was like, do you realize that you had to experience that moment in order for you to go on and create the business that you have today, where women can come and feel included even when they're being themselves and not feel judged, and create that safe space, because that's what you've always craved in your life. And it was just like a massive like aha moment to me. I'm like, yes, that's why it's always been a soul driven business, because this is what I wanted, and I never felt like I had. And so she helped me rewrite that story in that moment. And to be honest, that story still pops up every now and then. It's still something I feel like that's my lifelong healing journey that I'm going on, is feeling like I fit in no matter what. But yeah, just like that, like that's the reason why I started Fusion, and why it's like it's my baby, it's my passion, it's my mission. I just love it.
And I guess, oh my gosh, I've heard that story before, Ash, and I still get goose hearing it from you, because I think we've all had that moment when my mum was a teacher, so I moved around a lot as a child, and I was the kid that would fit in everywhere. My brother was the opposite. He never made friends. And so I would always go up and just bullshit myself into a group and make friends with people, which is, probably a lack of confidence at the other end of that scale.
Yep.
We all have our own ways of how we cope with change. And so there's a part of us, a little girl inside us, that relates to that. And I think a lot of us avoid networking because we're like, well, I'm going to go there and they all know each other and they all look like they love each other.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to be this loser on the outside and no one's going to speak to me. And I have to say, and I would love for you to share, because your events, I know people say this is different, but I genuinely went to your event not very open-minded.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to give it a go and just see. It's, why not? I don't have anything to lose except a couple of hours and probably a yummy brunch. So, and when I was like, well, it's never lost if there's nice food. So, but it was genuinely so different. And so I know why it's so different, because your heart and your soul has that drive behind it, but you actually create these beautiful events. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you create events that actually allow us to genuinely connect with people rather than just go, hi, I'm Sarah from Online Social Butterfly? Because you do some really clever things.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That really means a lot. It's really important to me that when people do arrive, they do feel welcome, because that is one of our brand promises. It's really, really important to me. And just because I know what it's like to walk in and feel like everyone knows everyone, and then you've got to butt into circles. And I genuinely did not want to create that as a business. And, as it's grown and the events have gotten larger, I feel like it's been harder and harder to do that. But the ways that I do try and do that, I'll share with you now, is I always set the scene, even before an event. So the event doesn't start at the event. It starts when the person buys the ticket, or even when they're thinking about buying the ticket. So it's really important that they feel like, they don't back out, and they feel like they're going to be have an amazing experience. So before every event, I send out a pre-event email, and it's like a novel. You've seen it, Sarah. It's like,
yes,
every single piece of information you need to know about what's going to happen at the event, because I think that really helps ease and calm the nerves. And then also I make sure I set the scene in terms of being vulnerable, and just make sure everyone realizes that their real self is welcome at the event, and to leave their best self at the door. And so that really helps pave the way for people to realize, it's not a typical networking event where I need to, say how good I am and have all the bravado. I can drop that wall down straight away, because Ash has already invited me to do that before I've even walked in. And then people walk in, and we always make sure there's someone there to greet them at the door and give them a big hug and introduce them to someone if if they're there alone. And then in my opening speech at events, I'll always try and share something quite personal of mine to really set the scene. So I've shared that story that I just shared with you at multiple events before. And, whatever's going on in my life, I'd like to share something quite vulnerable, because that really sets the scene and opens everyone else up to be able to do that. And then we do like a round table style discussion, which is so beautiful. And we go around and everyone's allowed to talk about, what's really on their heart. Doesn't even have to be about business. But I really like to ask them the question, what's something that you haven't really been able to talk about anyone else with lately that, business people would be able to understand? So yeah, I just like all those little touch points really help people to open up and have that nice experience, because I hate going to an event where you've only scratched the surface of small talk. Like there's just no point. I'd rather know, what's going on in your marriage. Like tell me what happened with that difficult client. Like that's what people really enjoy talking about, because they walk away feeling so much lighter, you know, because like you're not alone in this.
Absolutely. And I think what makes your event so dramatically different is that actual genuine connection, because it's a big promise, Ash, to say that. And you absolutely deliver on it. You've delivered on every single event that I've attended for Fusion. I love every single one of them. And it is a massive promise, because lots of people say, come and network, come and do these things. And I've been in business like you a long time, and you go to these events and you have this feeling of dread that you've got to go. And your process of the event starts as when I'm thinking of booking is so, so true. And those genuine connections that we have, I've actually never experienced anything like that in networking, where we go along and you have these genuine conversations and you kind of leave feeling like, oh, I got to meet someone. And what that does is it builds up this really nice point. So for your International Women's Day event, was there 200 women there or more, 300?
300, yeah.
Wow, a huge event. And I have to say, even as an alpha extrovert like myself, I still found that daunting to get there. And I luckily have 2 friends that I go with that live in the same suburb that are also Fusion VIPs. And when you get there, the beautiful thing about it was I went and got to speak to women who had only met at Fusion events in the last few months. And it was really lovely, because you go up and you give them a hug and you kind of like, hi, how's things going? And the reality of it is, when we share stories, people remember stories. Whereas I might not remember what you did, but I'll remember what you said, because I will have connected with your story. So you create relationships that build and build. And I love that about it. And sorry, I'm like such a bad fangirl. Let's talk about your International Women's Day, because that's phenomenal.
Yeah. What do you want to know? Like, that's an
well,
event.
It's kind of grown, hasn't it? Because this year we had 300 women there, as you said. And I guess what inspired you to start it? And did you have a vision that it was going to be as big as it has now become?
I would say I didn't have that vision, but Brooke definitely had that vision. She always wanted to hold the event at Crown. So Brooke Valinovich, I think most people that listen to this will know Brooke.
Yep.
She's a total powerhouse in Perth. And so we met at one of my events. She came to one of my Fusion events way back in the day when it was just coffee catch-ups. And then she asked me to if she could host an Instagram workshop for Fusion. I was like, yeah, sure. And then kind of our business friendship grew from there. And then we decided to do, because she was growing her community and I was growing mine, we decided to collaborate, because we both, we believe in collaboration over competition, even though our communities could be seen as competition. But I think it's really nice that we've come together, and it works, and it's proof that if someone wins, the other person wins too. But yeah, so anyway, we came together to host that first event in 2017, that we hosted the first one together with 90 ladies at Isle of Voyage. And then we've, the one that we just had in March this year, that was our 5th one. We had a couple of gaps because of COVID, and Brooke got married. But yeah, it's grown. We grew to 300 people. The last time we did it at the Ritz, it was 300 there. And then our Brooke's dream was to have it at Crown. So we finally got to Crown, and I must admit it was next level at Crown, but was also a big jump for us. We had to put the ticket prices up because of it's Crown, and so we weren't sure if we would sell out at 300, but we did. And yeah, I think it's just you can't explain it until you've been in the room for International Women's Day. Like, the buzzing in the room of like the inspiration, and like there's so many people that you already know, but then there's so many people that you want to meet, and it's just like so inspiring. The speakers are always amazing. It's always really uplifting to go to those events, and yeah, we'll keep running those events for the foreseeable future. So maybe one day we'll book out all of Crown Ballroom and have 1,000 people there.
Wow, that's such a beautiful dream. I'm so excited for that. And I have to say, again, that was my first IWD event that I had been to with you ladies, and it blew me away again. Just a beautiful, beautiful space. So I want to talk about, because obviously, how many members are currently in Fusion approximately?
So we have two levels of membership now. So in the base level, where it's just a one-off payment, there's, I think, 450-ish. No, we have more lately, so maybe 480. And then in VIPs, we launched with 50 founding members, which you were one of them.
Yes.
And then I closed doors, because it was really important for me to set the foundations and stop the growth, before it, because it's really hard to build a solid community if you've got hundreds and hundreds of people. People need to know each other in that community, form those core groups of people. And then I reopened it, I think a couple months ago. And then the numbers have just been kind of growing steadily, which is really nice. And yeah, everyone at the VIP membership is able to come to the events and build on those relationships over time. And I can already see it's really starting to become such a beautiful network of women.
It is. And so with your regular membership, so because some of my listeners are, well, a good chunk of them are not in Perth. So they're probably sitting there going, oh, so yeah. You do have a huge component that is still online, don't you? And I noticed when I was speaking, you stream a lot of the things into the group as well, which is super cool.
Yeah, we stream it into the VIP membership group because that's part of their, membership benefits. They get to see all the events that they can't attend still. And yeah, most of our Fusion Fam, which is the base membership, lots of the reasons for joining that is because access to the Facebook group of people that have paid to be part of that group. It's just kind of like a really high caliber group of business women in Perth. So I didn't want it just to be another free group. I wanted to make sure there was a level that people had to pay to get into. So yeah, but my dream is to go national. I do want to go national with the business. I've just got 2 little kids at the moment, so it wouldn't be happening this year or next. But I'm thinking, 2025, maybe go national.
Woohoo! And so that would mean that you have like a Fusion champion in each state that could run events for you. I love that idea. I think it would be phenomenal. And with the group itself, just circling back to that, I think the group is like you say, because it's not a free part of your membership, you're in a paid membership to be in there. The caliber of women for a start is a different caliber, but there's definitely lots of networking and business being done in that group, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, Fusion isn't something that you join to make sales, but it definitely happens because, you buy and you do business with people that like and trust, and networking fast tracks that factor, doesn't it? You meet them, you like them, you trust them. So you want to do business with them, you want to refer to them. So yeah, whilst we say that's not the reason for joining, it definitely happens, of course.
Absolutely. And I think it's really nice. I know I've put myself out there and said, if there are members that would like to be on my podcast, you're actually my 3rd Fusion member that I've had interviewed. And it's been really joyous because I'm connecting with women that I had potentially heard of in Perth, that I hadn't met in person, and I got to meet at an event. I'm like, can you come on my podcast? So it's really exciting to open your network up and meet new women that you can do business with or collaborate with. And I'm loving that aspect of it, because that, I think, again, is often missing in traditional networking, is the need to collaborate and create that network of other women around you, which I love.
Yeah, so important. It's not even just to grow your business, but to have that support network of people that you can go to that really understand, like if a client left and they weren't happy, like you can go to those people and you can talk to them and you can like really feel understood, because everyone's been through that. So
absolutely. And I think that's probably what resonated with me at my first Fusion event. We had some very vulnerable conversations, and because there was only 8 of us there, it was a beautiful, intimate event. And the conversations, I'm not going to repeat them because of the need to keep it in the room, but I was so touched by them, and I was touched by how genuine and honest people were. But also I sat there and I thought, I've been there. I've had that happen where I've had a crappy client, or I've had something not go well. And when you sit at home and work by yourself, you can often think, well, I must be rubbish, or what am I doing wrong? And then when you go and meet these other women and you have honest conversations, you go, oh, actually, this is just part of being in business. But if you sit in your own space, you can really talk yourself into some bad things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, being in business, we're pushing up against our limits every single day. Like, it's not easy. It's probably the hardest path you could choose, but it's so worth it.
Absolutely. Oh, Ash, I think we could talk all day. And I'm mindful that we want to try and keep this on time. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I'm so honored to have you as a guest. For all of my listeners, please check out the show notes, because I'll have all of the ways in which you can connect with Ash and Fusion. And I will put a link in if you're interested in joining the membership, because I think it's one of the best business decisions I've made, not only to become a member, to become a VIP. I absolutely love it, and I'm so proud to be part of the Fusion community. Ash, thank you again for your time, and thank you for sharing so generously, as you always do with my listeners.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And just want to say congrats to you for reaching number 2 in the podcast rankings. I'm so excited to be part of this.
I know. And it happened the week when I had one of my Fusion ladies, Cara, on as my guest. So it's like, woo.
Amazing. Good, awesome. Cara.
Yay.
Cool. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Pleasure. And thank you again to all my listeners. I will catch you the same time next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Social Circus. As your host, Sarah Thompson, I am thrilled that you've chosen to spend your time hanging out with me. I would be so grateful if you could spare an extra moment to go and leave me a review on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you even felt more excited, you could share my podcast with your friends who you think would get great value from it. Thanks so much again for tuning in.